sure you check out our new sponsor, the Health Blaze. All the information is in the description. Use the promo code above. Goodfella One Boxing at 18% off of all their natural products, from deodorant, pomade, toothpaste, and much, much more. And they have additional discounts on their website as well. That's thehealthblaze.com. Starting December 20th. That promo code is good for 18% off. We go. 50 Cent totally obliterated Young Buck last 24 hours, whatever it is. It made Young Buck say 50 Cent days are numbered. Let's talk about the events that just transpired not too long ago. Goodfella Sports TV, appreciate the love and support. Let's get into it. It's your boy CJ Goodfella. Apparently 50 Cent end up hitting up the transgender person that Young Buck had alleged sexual acts with, getting on her Instagram, and she asked 50. I don't know, the transgender person made a diss about Young Buck. Wanna Ride With Me remix. No, I did not listen to it. And she asked 50, go ahead and make me the first transgender on the unit. So 50, pulled up the diss and mocked Buck with that. Then he started a GoFundMe for Young Buck. The goal was $300,000 to get him to free him out of his unit contract from 50 Cent. And that made Young Buck say 50 Cent days is numbered. Now, they've been going at it for the last couple years, I feel like. You know what I'm saying? And 50 Cent said if this was a level of disrespect from Buck or Tony Yayo, that he would have had them shot. And I don't think he was playing. He was on some radio show podcast when he said it. And that pretty much he bailed out Young Buck before, when Young Buck didn't pay his taxes. And he kind of told his side of the story on that little radio podcast. I can't remember exactly what it was. But at the end of the day, Young Buck said, let's go bar for bar. 50 ain't going bar for bar these days with nobody. You know what I'm saying? He not going bar for bar. He going post for post. He being the Instagram king. He being the Wendy Williams of social media. He go around trolling all day. And usually people like that like to nitpick and troll people and poke at people's misery. Some like Wendy Williams, even though she did it on a more serious note. Gossip Queen, 50 the Gossip King. And the King Messi of the social media, especially Instagram. Usually they some of the most unhappy people in the world. Usually they turn their misery into other people's tears and misery. So that's what makes them happy. See, 50 Cent can be an adult about it, but you know what? Who gonna do something to 50? And that's how 50 look at it. Like, I've been shot 9 times. What they gonna do to me? You know what I'm saying? I didn't really look death in the face. And really, he not worried about Young Buck. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, what Young Buck gonna do? Really? I don't know how big or how small Young Buck is, but 50 ain't no small guy. And 50 really got street credibility. I don't know the credibility that Young Buck got. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I also look at it too. He making fun of Young Buck, right? But hey, this same dude that's messing with transgender women, or transgender people, or men, I don't know what to say. Transgender people, you know what I'm saying, was on your record label. You associated with him. You rubbed shoulders with him. He was your right hand or your left hand man, or he was right there with Yayo Buck in the game. Y'all always associated. When people look up one name, he gonna be affiliated or associated with your name. So at the end of the day, why he popping fun, but the apple don't fall too far from the tree. So he was rolling around doing this, or he had this feeling. People can say, "Hey, was 50 Cent guilty by association?" That's something people can say. You know what I'm saying? So. While, 50, joking around and trying to, people getting caught up in the sauce, really, what that say about him, that he employed somebody that like transgender people. So, you didn't know that, you didn't know nothing about this. He probably didn't, but at the same time, Young Buck doing all this talking, he doing all this begging. I remember a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, 50 Cent had Young Buck crying on the phone to him. Saying that he need money to pay his taxes, whatever it was. And 50 said at one point he bailed him out, but he said he needed to be smarter about the situation. And, at that point, a man, you crying to another man, it don't get no lower than that. Even, the transgender person thing is pretty low as well. But this man had this dude on the phone crying to him, in tears and asking and begging him to help him out with a couple dollars to whatever, pay his taxes, or he was hurting. So at the end of the day, if he didn't do nothing to 50 then, all this fails in comparison. This fails in comparison than a man taping you, recording you, putting it on social media, sharing it with the blogs and the vlogs and everybody else, you crying to him, asking for money, asking him to bail you out. I mean, at the end of the day, if you didn't do nothing about it then, Young Buck, why his days one number then? 50 Cent been trolling you for the last 4 or 5, 6 years. Maybe they in cahoots. Maybe they doing this to boost their profile, because ain't nobody talking about 50 outside of Power, and it's about to come back up. I don't watch it, but the acting was too bad to begin with. Only person that can act was Ghost. But ain't nobody talking about, Power outside of Power. Ain't nobody talking about 50 outside of Power on Instagram or social media. Outside his beefs with Tierra Marie and outside his beefs with Young Buck, nobody talking about him. And I still can't believe he still got musical control over Young Buck and Lloyd Banks' career. How long ago was G-Unit? That's like, what, 03, 02, 04? You telling me like 16 years later, you still locked in a slave deal? And I don't think it's no worse than another brother locking another brother in a slave deal. It don't get no worse than that. That now, when we enslaved our own artists and own people in record deals. We had enough with, Jimmy Iovine and Interscope and, Priority Records and whoever else. We had enough of them, our music literacy was getting taken advantage of. New Edition, TLC. There was a lot of rappers going out on stage. They wasn't even rich. They was broke on stage, acting like they got money and 360 deals. To the point it get where another brother that learned the music game, and now he's got, other brothers in the slave deal. And let's be real, 50 Cent, in a lot of people's opinion, he stopped Young Buck and Lloyd Banks from going. Lloyd Banks and Young Buck's first albums were outstanding. People talk about talk about P. Diddy, Puffy, Sean Combs, stopping guys who had really good first albums and not wanting them to grow and be what they really could be and stopping their potential. 50 right there. 50 sat there and hated on Banks and hated on Buck and didn't really want them to be better than him. Because after the first album, even though The Massacre had much more success than Get Rich or Die Trying, he had some good songs, but it wasn't Get Rich or Die Trying. And after that, it really wasn't nothing. It was Power to Dollar, Get Rich or Die Trying, The Massacre, and then whatever else you want to say. I like Get Rich or Die Trying, the music soundtrack. But outside of that, the rest of his shit flopped. So he really didn't want to see Young Buck, and he didn't want to see Lloyd Banks grow. Tony Ayo wasn't going to grow. He wasn't that good of a rapper. But he didn't want to see them grow, and he wanted to stunt their growth. And then you put your mans in a slave deal where they can't even get out the deal, where they can't move how they want to move and make music how they want to make music. Then that's worse than another ethnic group enslave you as your own brother next to your own guy. They got the same melanin skin tone as you, enslaving you in a deal. But long story short, Young Buck ain't gonna do nothing about it. Young Buck ain't gonna go see 50. Young Buck ain't gonna do nothing about it. He not gonna put hands on 50. We all know that. So he just talking so much your days are numbered. His days should have been numbered when he had you crying on the phone. His days should have been numbered when he been poking fun at you the last few weeks. I think they ain't cahoots to try to revive or try to be a topic of discussion. Because outside of this, nobody cared when Young Buck mixtape dropped no more. No matter how good or how bad it was, you ain't nobody talking about Young Buck. This is making his name, in rotation, maybe in a negative light, but at the end of the day, you a man. You ain't got to let everybody know you coming. You've been telling 50 you was coming for him for the last 3, 4, 5 years. At some point, you need to just pop up and do your thing. Same thing with Ja Rule. At what point do you say enough is enough and you go shut this clown up? But ain't none of them man enough to do that. No matter how bad and how bad they down or how bad they on their knuckles, they know 50 ain't for the games. And they know 50, at the end of the day, if you do get the best of 50, he gonna snitch on you. Well, that's what they say. That's what Irv Gotti and them say. That's what Sean Poe said. Said he was after he got shot or stabbed up or whatever, he was in the he was in the lab, in the studio writing for Puff, and he had New York City undercover cops surrounding him because he was scared for his life. There's plenty of stories out there saying 50 is snitch. Not saying he didn't have credibility, but even if you run up on him with the yappa, at least that's the alleged rumor. If you run up on him and you do something to him and you do accomplish, he gonna snitch on you. And that's what they say. I'm not saying it's true, it's not true. So it's a double-edged sword. Even if you win, you lose. And if you lose, you really lose. And he'll mangle you. You know what I'm saying? So if Young Buck don't come correct, he'll mangle you. And that's adding injury to insult. So not only did he mangle you, and then, you're going to probably be in jail, or you're going to win or still go to jail. At the end of the day, Young Buck ain't one of them dudes that should do social media. He need to go ahead and holler at 50 and just, do what you need to be done. But he ain't letting you go, even if you put a foot in his butt. I shouldn't have said that about Young Buck, huh? Even if you hand him an L or an ass whooping, he ain't letting you go. But don't forget to check out our sponsor, The Hellblaze, at thehellblaze.com. Promo code GoodFella1Boxing, get you 18% off their 100% all natural products from lotion, soaps, foot soaks, bath bombs, deodorant, toothpaste, hair pomade, much, much more. The website, promo code, description. You won't be mad that you checked out their 100% all natural products and make them themselves, so they ain't coming from nowhere else. And don't forget, we on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can reach out to the email if you have a video request, business question, inquiry, sponsorship, video request. Goodfellas Sports TV. One time for the one time. We gone.